I think that something that helped us a lot was our CEO sponsorship. He was very clear with the main goal for the company. That was very helpful. And also trying to think about the goals, not in terms of your department, of your area of control, instead thinking about goals in terms of the whole company. If you try to narrow the objectives to the whole company, not just thinking about your department, it's easier because it's in human nature to try to show that you are very important and you have a lot of important things and the only goals that are important are your goals. But if you have this kind of effort and socialize with the leadership team and all of that, I think it's a good idea.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to BetterWorks podcast, People Fundamentals. I'm your host, Ashley Litzenberger, Senior Director of Product Marketing. BetterWorks' core belief in people fundamentals revolves around helping HR lead through constant change by focusing on core values like fairness, support, balance, and enabling growth opportunities for employees. These tenets empower everyone in the workforce to strive for excellence, to foster creativity, and to acknowledge each other's contributions. BetterWorks believes that strategic HR leaders can translate these principles into action, shaping their workforce for the better and helping drive meaningful business outcomes. In this show, we're diving even deeper into these principles as we hear from experts about how you can make them come alive in your organization. In this episode, recorded live at Unleash America 2024 in Las Vegas, we're delving into the realm of enhancing workforce productivity with our special guest, Armando Smeke. Armando is the head of strategic planning at Posadas. Posadas, a customer of BetterWorks, is the largest hotel company in Mexico and Latin America. He shares insights on the implementation of OKRs and how aligning these with the company's purpose has revolutionized their operational goals. Armando explores the challenges and strategies behind effective workforce alignment and productivity. He breaks down the steps Posadas has taken to foster a culture of clear objectives and efficient talent utilization, from establishing a clear purpose that resonates across the organization to implementing cutting-edge software for managing OKRs. Armando provides a comprehensive look at driving productivity and strategic alignment. But it's not just about structure. Armando shares insights into how Posadas ensures its employees are engaged and how they balance productivity with employee satisfaction and work-life balance. Through his stories, he reveals how strategic HR practices can significantly enhance business outcomes and the employee experience. So tune in and get ready to learn how you can enhance your organization's productivity and align your workforce towards common goals. Hello, Armando. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, and thank you for the invitation.
Let's start at a very high level. We talk a lot about how important it is for companies and for HR teams to help drive or improve productivity. I want to take a step back and ask you, when you think about workforce productivity, what does that mean?
Okay, for me, that means that everybody understands why they are at the job, what they need to accomplish, and how they can make it in the better way possible for everybody. So they can have a work-life balance, so our resources are allocated in the most efficient way, not in terms of only money, but also in terms of talent. For me, that's the workforce efficiency.
That's really powerful and very, very simplified. One of the questions that I think a lot about is then, how do you measure workforce productivity?
Okay, it's a difficult question because I understand some companies try to measure it in terms of hours or the headcount or how much time you spend doing a specific task. But for me, is how we can accomplish the results that we want using the talent of everybody in the best of their capacities. So they are all in the same team. And of course, we need to take care of the expenses and the headcount and all of that. But for me, it's that people spend all of their time aligned to our objectives and contributing to what we want to accomplish as a business. For me, that's how we measure productivity. If we are getting to the results we are looking for, if we each quarter get to the results that we decide we want to get, that's the best measure. And then we can measure that, with the time that they spend in a specific task and all of that.
Or layer in how employee engagement and satisfaction, how happy are they in the work that they are doing as well. But I want to double click on what you just said, which is, workforce productivity is really based on workforce alignment. And that is, understanding what are the goals of my organization? What are the goals of my team? And I'm curious, how was your organization at doing that when you first started? And what have you been doing to help create more clarity around alignment?
I remember when I started 8 years ago, everybody had very good intentions. Everybody had great ideas, but everybody was working by himself. Very fussy thinking, fussy execution. If you have a meeting with a lot of people, you can ask them, hey, do you accomplish your objectives? And everybody said, yeah. And when you go and see the results from the company, we weren't getting what we want to get. And it wasn't because people weren't working. They were working very hard, but they don't know where to work and how to work.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were working towards.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So what changes did you all implement to go from this place of everyone working really hard and trying their hardest and, really putting in the effort to actually making sure that effort was moving towards an aligned goal?
Okay, the first one is to find a purpose as a company. And I'm very proud about our purpose. That is to create a better world so people can travel. That's our purpose. And if you start from that and then take it to your business plan and with your financial objectives and client objectives and all of that, it's easier, But then you need to execute that and communicate to everybody in the organization. We are around 15,000 employees across Mexico in different type of jobs. So the communication that we need to provide to them is very important. And we established OKRs as our methodology to align the company, to prioritize the initiatives for each quarter. And it's like a constant effort when you have to be working. But I think that we have been very successful for now.
I'm curious because implementing OKRs or revitalizing OKRs, if they've gone by the wayside or haven't been effective, I'll just call it a tremendous lift and an enormous amount of effort. How did you go about implementing OKRs? Where did you start? And what are the steps that you actually took? Break it down and say that you're talking to someone who's trying to put in OKRs into their organization for the first time.
Okay, at the beginning, we need to align to the leadership team. It all starts with them. If they are not into the process will die very soon. So we work very close to the leadership team with our CEO, that is one of our main sponsors for the OKRs methodology. And we start with very easy top company OKRs, only with around 20 people in the organization working each quarter. After that, we take the OKRs to the next level of managers. So everybody in the company who is in charge of people to have their OKRs, and with very strong communication efforts, training, very important. But at the time, we use Excel files.
Oh my goodness. So wait, I just want to summarize what you were saying you were doing. So you started with the leadership team, got buy-in for them about the OKR project, and got them to define what the company purpose was and maybe the top 2 to 3 strategic goals that they wanted to do.
No more than 5.
No more than 5. What did you do to help keep your leadership team focused on 5? Because I've worked with leadership teams who very quickly are like, well, I know 5 is the maximum, but it's really these 8 that are so important. How did you work with the team who are all focused on different things to narrow it down to 5?
I think that something that helped us a lot was our CEO sponsorship. He was very clear with the main goal for the company. That was very helpful. And also trying to think about the goals, not in terms of your department, of your area of control, instead thinking about goals in terms of the whole company. If you try to narrow the objectives to the whole company, not just thinking about your department, it's easier because it's in human nature to try to show that you are very important and you have a lot of important things and the only goals that are important are your goals. But if you have this kind of effort and socialize with the leadership team and all of that, I think it's a good idea. And also align those objectives to your financial results and also to what all our stakeholders are demanding from the leadership team that help us to align to only 5.
That's great. And I often find that when I've worked with organizations in the past implementing OKRs, when they're looking at setting up those first 5, what you said about aligning your strategic goals to your financial goals is really important. And so a couple of places that I've often seen recommended to organizations first putting OKRs into place is to look at what are the financial levers that you want to accomplish? Are you looking to grow new business? Are you looking to retain customers? Are you looking to expand customer contracts? Are you looking to launch a new product area or capture a new market? And based off of that information, using that to say what we want to do is we want to, reduce churn amongst our customer base, which means that our goal might not be to reduce churn. It might be to create a better customer experience. And we'll know that that's trackable and achievable through the key result of customer retention. And you'll be able to actually create strategy around it. So I love what you said. So the first step is, create a company purpose with your leadership team, set those maximum of 5 core goals, then bring them out to your core leaders, and then bring them out to your managers.
Exactly. And the challenge that we faced at the time is that we were using Excel files to track our OKRs. That's where we realized that we need a platform, the best-in-class technology, so everybody's engaged, so you can have full transparency of what people are working on and all of that. And that's when we get to know BetterWorks. It increased our capacity to implement OKRs across the company. That's when we decide to move from only managers to the whole corporate with around 500 people there. For me, the definition of the OKRs, it's the most important part of the process. You need to really think what you are going to prioritize and where you want your focus on. For me, that's very important. But also you need to scale the system.
So it really ultimately can't just be something that your leadership team or your executives or your VPs are owning and seeing. It needs to be transparent.
And they need to live the process. It need to be in a daily basis activities for our teams, and you want them to collaborate and to understand, hey, this team is working on this, I'm working on a similar thing, maybe we can collaborate, and let me understand your OKRs because they are aligned to mine. And for me, that's very important.
Or maybe equally important is we actually find out that one team's OKRs run strategically against another team's OKRs, and you're realizing that you're not actually working together, you're working in opposite directions, and you can work to fix that because it's clear and transparent and it's recorded and written down.
Just like that. And one funny story, when we were during the pandemic, people were very worried about we making a downsizing project in the company. And they were reading my OKRs all the time to understand if we are going to fire somebody because it was in my responsibility. And they were like, okay, we have transparency in the company. So if Armando doesn't have any downsizing project in his OKRs, it's because I feel safe.
That's really interesting. It becomes a level of trust building within your organization and a level, like a clear level of communication. I'm curious, we've talked about the importance of setting up OKRs, of making them transparent, cascading them through your entire company, which does often require a software, especially when you're talking about thousands or tens of thousands of employees. That level of complexity just doesn't function in an Excel sheet, like you said. But then you were also talking about dynamically managing and keeping them up to date. Tell me a little bit about how that has transformed the work that you do. Like, what is it about dynamically tracking and updating OKRs that's been valuable?
Our process is very easy. We establish our quarterly OKRs with the executive committee. And then we establish some monthly meetings. Everybody get a chance to understand the OKRs from the top company and establish their own OKRs. That's how we keep the wheel moving, with some meetings, collaboration, trying to understand on what people are working. And it's like a natural process right now. We have been doing this for 6 years now.
And 6 years later, how are you integrating goals and OKRs into other parts of the employee experience? How does it fold over? Does it have a role in performance management, in performance reviews, in skill building or skill development? How's HR connecting that to some of the other processes that they're doing?
It's part of our performance review. Of course, you get the chance to review all your OKRs and understand the performance of each one of your employees. We also get the chance to analyze our top talent through OKRs because, as I mentioned, you have full transparency of what people are working on. And it's very easy for us to understand the most important things for the strategy and for the company, who is working on that. So it helps us to identify our top talent or our core talent within the company. It's also very helpful. And now we are using for our one-on-one meetings, we try to make it around OKRs to have more productive meetings with our managers. So it's part of the full employee experience. And before we were all working in the office. Right now we are working all over the country. So it's very easy for us to just establish your OKRs and feel free to work from home, flexible work. As I mentioned before, work-life balance is very important. So if you have clarity of your objectives, it help us to, flexibility, to have more flexibility in the company.
That's really powerful. I want to double click on that a little bit because sometimes I've seen it happen at a couple of American organizations that adopt OKRs and become highly focused on output. You can actually create a really strong culture of burnout because you're trying to drive too hard towards volume or productivity outputs. So how do you balance your OKR process where you're creating transparency and alignment and efficiency alongside, work-life balance and burnout prevention or even, learning and development? So if someone's growing into a new role and they don't hit their specific KR, but that's because they're in that learning curve part of their role, what do you do to make sure there is that culture balance or that opening?
Okay, for us, it's very important the definition of the OKRs. And we try to take some time at the end or the beginning of each quarter to really think what are our priorities and to understand the moment in the life of each one of our employees. If I have someone in my team that he's learning the new job, it's getting to know the team or something like that, we take that into consideration when we establish our OKRs. So it's very important for us to have continuous conversations between leaders and his team to understand that. And that helps us to create more powerful OKRs because you take in consideration the moment of the business, but also the moment that the person is leaving. And if you try to match both of them, I think that you are more effective in selecting your OKRs. And we don't have anything related to compensation attached to our OKRs. So we try to push people to think out of the box and push harder, knowing that there are no consequences in terms of money or in compensation if they fell short.
Okay, that's really powerful. I'm curious, as workforces continue to transform, the new thing that a lot of folks are talking about is skills and developing the right skills and creating a skills-based workforce. Does your company capture skill information? And then if it does, how are you using it? And if it doesn't, how would you use that to tie into OKRs?
Yeah. We really understand that each individual has his own talents and is good for something, and we try to create these diverse teams, taking into consideration the different talents or skills from the people to build more productive teams. And also in terms of hiring people, think more about the skills and what they are bringing to the table more than your CV or your past story, because it doesn't predict what we are going to do in the future,
Yeah. If you had that database of skills, you could create OKRs that are not just around who has the skills to execute against these OKRs, but what skills are we missing? And can we start creating OKRs for our workforce to build those skills and to acquire them, so then you can actually start to meet your future workforce needs?
Yeah, absolutely. We are using that we have our development OKRs when we try to catch what skills we are missing and establish an OKR for achieving that in order to then have an OKR for the business. So it's kind of tricky, but your development OKR to develop some skills, learning capabilities and all of that, and then move that to business OKR. So we use both for our teams.
That's really powerful. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really wonderful conversation around what the power of OKRs are to align your workforce and promote greater productivity, and also to create a culture where folks are feeling like the work that they're doing is actually effective and leading to results so that they can feel like they're engaged and like their work is actually meaningful to the organization and maybe even to the world because of the purpose of the organization that's clearly communicated.
Of course, I think everybody wants to feel that they are doing a meaningful job, that they contribute to something bigger than they are. This transparency and these kind of methodologies and technologies enable us.
If you were talking to someone who is thinking about purchasing BetterWorks, what would you say are the really big things that made it the right decision for your company to use the BetterWorks software?
Okay, it's very easy for me. Implementing the OKR system in your company, it's very hard. And you don't want to be working with a very complex platform with to understand new technology. And BetterWorks help you not only to have in a very easy implementation, but also enables your process. So you don't want to bring this consultant on this platform that is going to take you some time to implement while you are implementing the OKR methodology at the same time. BetterWorks is very easy. The service is great. People is always talking to us on what you need, how can we innovate, what your company needs, and you can see the platform over the last six years. Every year is better than the year before. And I don't feel like I'm a BetterWorks client. I feel like I'm a partner from BetterWorks, and I see BetterWorks as my partners, not my service. So
that's really cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Armando. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
As we wrap up our exploration of enhancing workforce productivity and the strategic implementation of OKRs, let's reflect on how we can effectively apply these insights in today's challenging business environment. First, establish clear organizational purposes. As Armando discussed, having a clear, compelling purpose at the core of your business strategy not only aligns your workforce, but also drives engagement and productivity. Make sure this purpose resonates throughout your organization. Second, implement and manage OKRs effectively. Start with leadership buy-in and share these objectives down through every managerial layer of your organization. This ensures that everyone is working towards the same goals, enhancing alignment and efficiency. Lastly, ensure transparency and continuous communication. As Armando highlighted, using tools like BetterWorks can help maintain visibility across all OKRs, fostering a culture of accountability and collaboration. This transparency also helps align workforce efforts and avoid strategic missteps. As we've learned from Posadas' experience, hold yourselves accountable for the routine implementation of these strategies. Together, we can enhance productivity, align our teams more effectively, and drive significant business outcomes. And when faced with the challenges of managing a large workforce, choose to strive for clarity and alignment. Be sure to stay tuned for our next episode of the People Fundamentals podcast. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube Music. And if you like what you hear, share us with your friends and colleagues. We'll see you again soon.